Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is part 2 of how to be a good leader. In part 1, we talked about the very general qualities of a good leader, how you can be a leader no matter what it is that you're doing. And we looked at an example from the bus driver, Curtis Jenkins, and how, even though the position that he had was very humble, how he made such a strong and powerful impact on the lives of others. Alright, so now we're going to start unpacking the qualities of a good leader. The first quality that we're going to look into is that we can probably use the example from Curtis Jenkins in the last, that was shown in the last video. But a good leader is a person who leads themselves. So let's put that here. I'm going to put this in a different color. I'm going to probably use green here. So it is a person, or I can put someone who leads themselves. And I will use Curtis as an example, is that no one had to tell him that, hey, you're a bus driver, you should probably, motivate the kids and, give them gifts and, help them to have a stronger self-esteem, give them responsibilities, help them understand what love is. No one had to sit down and tell him that in order to be a powerful leader that he had to do these things. He made his job important, the newscaster said. That is what leaders do. They make their jobs important and they lead themselves. They don't need someone above them constantly telling them, and to micromanage what they should do. So they have the ability to lead themselves and they are able to be introspective. They have a strong sense of, again, the law of cause and effect. If I do X, then Y will happen. I want to produce a positive effect. Therefore, I will do X, Y, and Z to produce this outcome. And they always think that way. Good leaders think that way. I speak to a lot of people, and when I try to motivate them to, lead themselves and to become lifelong learners and to love learning, they usually reply and say, I'm so motivated, but I just don't have the discipline or the long-term desire to lead myself. They say that they start sinking back into those bad habits that formerly defined their lives. For example, like they're motivated, after hearing me speak and they want to start making those changes in their lives. But then, after about a week or two, they start sinking back into their old habits. So they are able to lead themselves for a while, but it is really not there, like, inherently. So something that I tell people is that you have to have a goal that is much bigger than yourself. You can't just, be a leader just because you want, to, get a good job or, you want to have this high position. It has to be something bigger. And that thing that we should all be striving for as human beings, and especially as the good leaders that we should all aspire to be, is that it is love that is the most important. Now, it is strange, possibly, to hear the words love and leadership together, but love itself, I should say, is the glue that keeps us motivated. We know the first and second greatest commandment is to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and our strength. And the second is like it, to love our neighbor as ourselves. If we love people, and I'm not talking about in a romantic way, I'm talking about that we want the best for them. We want to be there for them. We want to help them improve. We have the desire to help them to overcome the obstacles that are in their lives. That we are rooting for them. And we all know the golden rule is to treat others the way that we want to be treated. That, in and of itself, is love or charity. That is love. And if we truly care about people, and even more so, with the second greatest commandment, love our neighbor as ourselves, we have to love ourselves as well, because that means that we want to lead ourselves. We want to improve ourselves. We want to continue learning. We want to do the things that will help us, just as we are helping others get from point A to point B and to overcome the obstacles in our own lives. And that requires a growth mindset, which I will unpack a little bit further in this lecture. But love and having that goal is key. Love is key. Okay. The second quality of a good leader, point B that I will put on the board here, is that they have a good track record of success. They have a good my pen is acting up, record of success. I might be getting a new tablet soon, so we'll see about that. So, a good track record of success. Now, no one has it all together, but what I'm saying is that a good track record of success is that you're able to look at someone's overall performance, throughout their lives. And, maybe they made bad mistakes in their lives, but the thing is, what are they doing to correct those mistakes? And currently, is there a good track record that you can look at and say, hey, this person is reliable. Hey, this person is on top of things. Once you get to know them and have them explain their story and you listen to their story, you're able to define and to discern whether or not this person is a reliable, employee or, just a good person in general, whether or not they're on top of things. So a good leader is somebody who has established a good reputation. I can put the word reputation in parentheses. reputation. They have a good reputation. Generally speaking, I'm kind of afraid to use that word reputation because there are a lot of leaders out there who have done really good things, but yet, for some reason, the media or whoever, they want to drag their names through the dirt, because the media or, people who dislike them have an ulterior motive. Now, it's not so much the reputation of what people think about them, but it's when you personally sit down and get to know this person and you use discernment, you follow this person around and see if they are being hypocritical, whether or not you test those things that other people are saying to see if they are indeed true. Really getting to know a person, that they are not exhibiting a ton of red flags and, that they are acting according to the front face that they are putting out there, that they are not two-faced, that they are consistent. So that's what I mean by having a good track record, and I hope that makes sense. A third characteristic of a good leader is that they are knowledgeable. And they have a good sense of time management and priority. So let's write that on the board. A good sense of time management. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. MANAGEMENT. My tablet is really acting up today. And priority. It should be fine though. They are knowledgeable. Let me put that in. I'm just going to do plus knowledgeable. Okay. So they have a good sense of time management and priority, and they are knowledgeable. What do I mean by that? Let's put an E right there. Sorry about that. What do I mean by that? If we take the corporate setting, for example, they are able to meet deadlines. They are structured and they know how to do their job well. So I'm going to make a bullet point right here. So they can do. I'm going to make this a different color just to keep things clear here on the board. So they're able to do their job well, and or the other thing I said, they meet deadlines. They can meet deadlines. Meets deadlines. Okay. So point C ties into the growth mindset as well. When the word knowledgeable is used, meaning that they are always going to be improving and getting on top of the trends that their position requires for them to know. They're always learning more and more and improving as an individual. They have a growth mindset. They love to improve and to help others improve, and a sense of time management. So they are good at organization and priority. Priority is critical, and they realize the issues that can come about. They're able to foresee. They're able to visualize what will happen if they are not on top of things. They have kind of an internal clock inside of their hearts and inside of their minds that they run by, and they have a schedule. So yes, they're on top of things, and this is a kind of discipline. This is organization. Organization is a discipline. And this will get into point D that I'm going to put here on the board. This ties directly into the fact that they are humble and they are aware of how much they do not know. So let's write that up. They are humble, and I'll put in parentheses, aware of how much they do not know. And because no one knows everything, but they are aware of how much they do not know. They are completely aware of that. There was a quote by a man named Charlie Munger. I will put the quote here on the board right now. Right here, he says, knowing that you don't know is more useful than being brilliant. So knowing what you don't know, being humble, because it's not what you're confident about that gets you in trouble, is what you're not so sure about. And realizing that you are not sure about those things. That is another quote by Mark Twain that I'm paraphrasing. It's the things that you're unsure about and that you act confidently about is what will always get you into trouble. So because we are human beings and because we are fallible, it is important to ask for help when we need help. So a good leader is not too prideful to ask for help. So let me move this over here, and I'm going to write that down. Let me move this down here. So let's write that in the point underneath humble. And a good leader is able to ask for help when needed. So they are not too prideful or arrogant to ask for help and to recognize that they are human beings and that sometimes, they need help as well. So when you are a good leader and you're able to ask for help when needed, you are setting the tone for your employees or those who are under you that they can also ask for help. And I'm going to get into that and explain that a little bit more as well. But you are setting the example in the tone for whatever quality that you are exhibiting in that moment. So people are looking up to you, and when you're able to ask for help and you are humble and aware, and it's okay, to depend on others, it's okay to not have to know everything in a moment. But going into point C is that they're also able to do their job well, meaning that these two connect because a good leader is able to search, and they're able to research the things that they are not confident about. And even if they are confident, they have the humility, as it says here in point D. They have the humility to refine those things that they don't know. They have the humility to say, hey, I can be wrong about this. Let me go back and research and search it over again to make sure that I'm absolutely confident about this decision, and then I will act on it. So they are slow to respond. They are slow to react. And I don't mean slow as in they're taking forever to make a decision about something or that they're not sure, because, time is critical. Time waits for no one. But by slow, I mean that they are careful. They take a few seconds to re-examine themselves. They examine themselves. because in leadership, it is important to be both efficient and accurate. And in order to be accurate, you have to go back and test things. So you have to take a few seconds to do that. So they're able to prioritize these things very well. The second point underneath humility is that they take accountability and responsibility for their actions and their mistakes. So let's write that on the board. They take responsibility / accountability for their actions and mistakes. So these are the types of leaders who do not shift the blame, knowing when they've done something wrong. They know that they are, able to make mistakes. They do not see themselves as, these superior people who can never make mistakes. And if something goes wrong, it's always somebody else's fault. They don't have that type of attitude. So they're very humble. They're very, self-aware. And they're very grounded. They live in reality. They know that they, are susceptible to making mistakes. They know that they are human, and they seek to grow from that because they are knowledgeable. The point C, as it says there. Okay, and moving on. The next quality of a good leader is resilience. Let's write that down here. Resilience. They are resilient people. Resilience is all about being able to overcome the unexpected in life. There are many things in life that are unexpected, and we can't know what's going to happen in the future, but having resilience ensures that we will come out on the end victorious, or if not victorious, then we will be safe, and we can start making progress in that area. So that is resilience. A big part of being resilient is being patient. So a good leader is not just resilient, but they are patient with people, and they are patient with themselves as well. So let's write that down. They are patient with others and themselves. Because with patience and the art of being resilient, the two are different, but they are also linked, because patience is the ability to withstand something difficult or irritating without losing your composure, whereas resilience is the ability to bounce back after experiencing difficulty of some kind. It's kind of like being elastic, like a rubber band. You can imagine stretching out a rubber band in your hand and then, letting it go, and it will go back to where it was before. So under stress, that rubber band is being stretched out, and then, once you let it go, and it will return back to its original form. You can think of resilience like that. So patience and resilience go hand in hand, and I personally believe that patience is the foundation for being resilient. You cannot be resilient without having patience. Though they are different, they work and interconnectedly. So it's very important that a good leader, that they will have patience, and they will exhibit that. And the second thing is that because they are resilient and because they are patient, they will handle pressure very well, usually. And people begin to trust them. They are responsible. So the second thing is that they will handle pressure relatively well. Everybody has a breaking point. I'm not talking about being stretched to your limits. I'm talking about just the general ability to handle pressure. And when people observe that you are able to handle pressure, that you are able to be resilient, and that you are a strong foundation, you are a rock when things around the company or in the workplace are, things are going, pretty unstably, that things are unsure, if you are resilient and you're able to handle that pressure, people will begin to trust you and people will begin to confide in you. You will be the rock that many people need to stand on, and you are the foundation of that company. You are the foundation of the team that you are working in many ways. You are the glue that is holding things together. Because resilience also carries with it a certain energy. And when you are resilient, other people will begin to relax. They see that you are calm and collected. Other people will see, oh, the leader is calm and collected as well, and he knows what he's doing. And that means that I can focus on my task that I have, to contribute within this team or within this company. And I don't have to worry so much about, what's going on, with the leadership or with the bosses, or, am I going to get fired? What's going on? Are the higher ups really stressed out? And if the higher ups are stressed out, and if they are unsure, and if they're lacking confidence, then that trickles down to the employees as well, and the people under them. It sets the tone for the whole workplace environment. One of my all-time favorite qualities of a good leader, and one of the qualities that I believe really, emphasizes what it means to be a good leader in general, is the next point, which is being a servant leader, or in other words, being self-sacrificial. I like the phrase servant leader, and that is a phrase that has been coined by many experts today. And I believe that the phrase was originally founded by Robert K. Greenleaf in the 1970s. What servant leadership is, and let me write that down. Point F, servant leadership. What servant leadership is the servant leader is the servant first. They are the first servant, and it begins with the feeling that one wants to serve, or to serve first, as the way that Greenleaf put it. And the difference manifests itself in the care taken by the servant first to make sure that other people are their highest priority and that their needs are being met. That is critical. That the people who they are serving, that their needs are constantly being met. And this can be, in terms of, this can apply itself in, the situation of having employees, or just meeting the needs of your teammates in general, the people who you are working alongside. So you're a servant. You're always looking out for others, and you're always trying to meet the needs of others. That can be, mental, physical, emotional, psychological, all of these needs. And that's really what it goes back to, the first and greatest commandment, as we talked about earlier. And, doing unto others as we will have, as we would like others to do unto us. The golden rule: treat others the way that you would like to be treated. Love is key. And with love, that is when we always will look out for our fellow neighbor, for our fellow man, for our fellow brothers, for our fellow teammates. One of the principal things behind servant leadership is that the focus is on serving the people for their own good, and not just for the good of the organization. And it's forming long-term relationships with people and encouraging their growth and their development, so that over time they will reach their fullest potential. So, in other words, it's not about, meeting a deadline. It's not about, the money that's going into the company so much. It's more about the people. The people are the priority. Now, the results are important, the organization is important, but that's not the number one thing. The people are always number one. That is the definition of servant leadership, and that is a excellent quality, which in my personal opinion, the number one quality of what makes a good leader. And this servant leadership mindset actually summarizes everything that we are talking about here on the screen. Because if you are a servant first, and if you love people, all of these other things will fall into place. A, B, C, D, E, F, so on and so forth. All of these things will fall into place under the qualities of a good leader. So as I've said, a servant leader is somebody who is constantly putting the people first. Let's go ahead and put that down here. And if I can explain that a little bit further, It is that they are someone who pays attention to their consumers and their needs. They pay attention to the needs of their teammates as well. So let's write that down. They pay attention to their consumers and their own needs. Let's see. Pay attention to their consumers. I'm going to include teammates in there. Consumers, teammates, and their own needs. Okay. And as I've said earlier, all of this can be summarized by, the idea of treating others the way that you want to be treated and loving your fellow neighbor. And this list that I am writing here on the board is by no means exhaustive. There are so many qualities that can make up a good leader, but we're just kind of, getting our feet wet here and just kind of talking about what can be the most principal things and maybe not even the most principal, but, this is just something to think about here. Another thing that is important is that a servant leader is encouraging, and they make people feel important. And it's not just flattery, telling people that they're important, but a servant leader and a good leader recognizes that people are indeed important. So they make others feel, so let's write that down. They make others, because it's all about others, feel important or valued. I think is a better word, but I'll write important here. They make others feel important. And they make them feel supported as well. So we'll write important, supported, and valued. Because people are valuable. And a good leader will recognize that and help people to grow and understand their own value. Because once people understand their own value, they will act in ways that are valuable to others. So they are essentially passing it on. A positive atmosphere is being created. And what just came to mind is the phrase that it is better to give than to receive. I will write down the third point that I mentioned earlier, is that they care about people and the lives of people than the numbers and about meeting a deadline. And that's not to say that deadlines aren't important. Deadlines are critical. But they care more about people than money, than numbers. And a servant leader or a good leader realizes that there is power in this, for the better. So let's write that down. They care more about people than numbers. I'm going to put a $sign there. Money and deadlines. LINES. Deadlines. Okay. They realize that it is the people that make up an organization, that it is the people that make up a business, and without them they wouldn't have a business at all. And it's not the money that's doing the work, it's the people who are putting their hands to put that money into action. So they care more about the people than the numbers, and they realize the bigger picture. So yes, they're not greedy at heart either. And again, what I'm talking about here is a true care, a true love for their team. And I've said the word love a few times. Let me clarify even more what that means. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not seek its own. Is not selfish. Love is not envious. It's not proud, and it doesn't dishonor other people. It is not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. And it keeps no record of, wrongs in terms of, trying to get back at people, meaning that it's not vengeful. Love does not delight itself in evil. It doesn't rejoice and it doesn't take pleasure in evil things, but it rejoices in things that are true and things that are good. Love, it protects, it trusts people. It always hopes. There's hope in love, and it is always persevering. Love is the most important thing. And where did I get that from? That is a paraphrase from the scriptures, 1 Corinthians 13. Very popular verse, and a lot of people who are hearing this know exactly what that means, and they have heard that before. It is very popular and is very powerful. So you can summarize the phrase love by that, especially in this context of servant leadership and the qualities of a good leader. Okay, let's move on. We're going to go down to E or F, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We're going to go down to point G, and let me get my green marker here. What is point G? I guess we can say that a good communicator is also a good leader, because communication is really important. So let's talk about that. A good communicator. C-A-T-O-R. Now, we hear a lot about communication. We hear a lot about the importance of trust and communication in relationships. And really, communication cannot be overlooked. It is just that important. You cannot be a good leader if you are not a good communicator. And a good communicator, they are both open and they are very direct. Let's put that here at the end. They are open and direct. What does this look like in action? Well, they express appreciation for positive traits, and they kindly confront each other when they are concerned about the quality of work being done. They confront people kindly about the quality of work if there is a problem. The key word there is kindly. Now, kind does not mean that you're soft and, that you're just very, you're a doormat. But kind is respectful. It is gentle, and it is also clear. So you can be kind and still be very direct. A lot of people mistake kindness for weakness. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is a strength. It is a huge strength. It is a strength to keep your composure and to be nice when people are treating you, terribly. And kindness also does not mean that you are overlooking wrongs. You never overlook anything or turn a blind eye to something that needs to be addressed. That is not kindness. That is enabling bad habits and bad choices, and that in and of itself is very toxic and unhealthy. So I just wanted to clarify that. So let's change the marker, and let's go over here and write down a summary of that. That they pay... Let's see, how can I word that? They express appreciation. That's good. They express appreciation. For the positive traits of others. For positive traits. And they kindly confront. Kindly? My marker. They kindly confront. They kindly confront others when... Give me one moment. I suppose I can say they kindly confront others concerning quality. Concerning quality. I just don't want this to be too wordy. That's all. I like to follow a simple principle here and keep things very simple. So when you have good communication, the good communication usually sets the tone in the workplace where people are positive towards each other and they are helpful. and they respect one another as well. So the overall cultural harmony becomes very solid because you have somebody who is leading by example. So the communication, again, there are no communication barriers. Everyone is open and direct, and, there is no fear within that community, within that workplace. And that is because they express appreciation for positive traits, and the leaders are kind, and they confront others kindly when there are quality issues. The next point would be that they have integrity. Integrity is something that we often hear about, but maybe we've never actually sat down and really unpacked what integrity is. Integrity, integrity. So a good leader always possesses strong integrity, and they have a good moral compass on their shoulders. Having integrity means that you are strong in your convictions and you adhere to a strong moral code, meaning you know the difference between right and wrong. There was a quote, if I can remember, it was, integrity is doing what is right even when no one is watching. And that can be summed up, integrity can be summed up that way, doing what is right even when nobody is watching. I'm just going to start speeding through these now. The next one is going to be that a good leader is a team player. We're going to write that down. Team player. I can give more examples of the integrity. I just want to kind of speed this lecture up a little bit more. But if you guys need me to go into depth more about what integrity looks like within the workplace, I can do that. But I'm just going to kind of speed through these a little bit faster. So a team player. Do you remember earlier when I was talking about how a good leader meets the needs of those who they're in charge with? Well, that's really what being a team player is as well. And we can write that down here, is that they meet the needs of their customers and their coworkers and their teammates. So let's write that down. They meet the needs of customers, teammates, and coworkers. Okay. And not only do they meet the needs of their coworkers and those who they are working with, but they also invest in them as well when it is a good investment. So they're not afraid to make investments either. They realize that it's not just about them. They work together in a team. So they realize, again, as I mentioned earlier, the value of community. They realize the value of people. Because they value people, they are not afraid to invest in their team. So we can write that down. They are not afraid to invest in their team. And we can add their employees and their customers. Team, employees, and customers. Team and employees can go hand in hand, actually. You can kind of bridge those together. But yeah. So they're not afraid to make investments. Again, they don't have this everything is about me attitude, and they do realize that the bigger picture for having their company work like a well-oiled machine is for people to work collaboratively. They work together. We rely on each other. We have a goal, and that is to make a difference within our community. So a team player realizes that we are dependent on one another. So that would be the third point. They understand they realize that we are dependent. Actually, what I'm going to do is get rid of that word we. Realize dependence upon one another. My pen is acting up. Dependence upon one another. Okay. So, no man is an island when you have a good leader. Everyone is involved, and a good leader recognizes the potential for every person, and he or she puts them in those positions where their skills are being used, and where the leader is actually encouraging them to meet those goals that they have. Again, because we are people, and because we are fallible, and because we are not perfect with many things, a team player, a servant leader, a good leader will recognize the needs that their coworkers have, and instead of bullying them and being critical of them, they will invest in them. They will help them to become better. Especially when you have employees who, have a growth mindset as well. The leader will help them to meet those goals and to help their employees become better overall leaders themselves. So he recognizes that other people have the potential for leadership as well, and he looks for those qualities within other people. So he's meeting that need that his employees or his customers or his teammates have, and that's what it's all about. Doing that requires people skills. So that will be the fourth. They have strong people skills. People skills. People skills, that's a very general term, but I think most of the important qualities, within people skills, if I can put an arrow right here, we can kind of break that down a little bit further. People skills is it is things like being able to understand basic human psychology, understanding people is key. Understanding their needs, understanding, their mindset. I'm going to make a list here. And understanding that their coworkers and their teammates and their customers have lives outside of the organization. So, employees as well. Understanding that they are people, and that, because people are complex, they have certain needs that need to be met that are outside of work. A good leader will understand that, hey, if I see someone having a bad day, I'm not going to fault them for that, but I do want to try to encourage them, to look at the bigger picture, or to try to help them to maintain a more positive attitude. Perhaps I can even help them to overcome this hurdle in their life in a professional way, without getting too heavily involved in personal matters. So understanding, that's a people skill, and knowing how to approach that effectively and professionally. People skills can also go underneath communication, but I'm putting this under team player. All of these, qualities for a good leader can be summarized by having good people skills. But I'm just putting it here just because. But they are all interconnected. So technically, you can add communication into strong people skills. You can break that down in here as well, because again, these will repeat. They have good communication. I would say further that they themselves have good emotional control, and that they have good emotional intelligence. They possess that, but they are also able to decode the emotions of others. So they are emotionally educated, or they have a high emotional IQ. I will say that they are emotionally safe. Let's write that down. Emotionally safe. They're emotionally safe individuals. They're not critical. They are not putting other people down when they are dealing with something that is difficult. They help them to overcome those hurdles. So they have good interpersonal intelligence, and they have good social intelligence as well. They are able to translate emotions with others, and they are responsive to how other people express their emotions in a healthy way. And they are also good at knowing themselves. They have a high emotional IQ. And I think the most important thing, this can actually have a whole category on its own and a whole lecture on its own, but being able to be a good problem solver. Why is problem solving within the strong people skills category? Well, it really, like I said, it can have a category on its own because it is that deep. And we can explain that further for hours on end. However, we want to think about people skills and being able to solve problems and to be able to solve other people's problems in a healthy way, in a way that is not codependent. Being able to solve problems is a key foundation in life and in knowledge and in understanding wisdom in general, but it is especially true with people and people skills. They understand that there are people from all walks of life, and they are patient with that. They aren't immediately critical of people who are different than them. They try to understand people and try to help them to become better versions of themselves. And again, that is summarized by love. Okay, let's move on. Again, we can go on explaining these points for a very long time, but for the sake of time, let's go on. I think one of the last things, and this is one that I've mentioned several times already, and it's one of the most important things, H-I-J, we are on point J here, and that is having a growth mindset. A growth mindset. A growth mindset can be summarized, and I think about it like this in my own personal life, is that they have a hunger and a love for knowledge. They have a love for learning, not just knowledge for the sake of knowledge, like, you know, being an egghead, but they have a love and appreciation. T-I-O-N for learning. I'm going to put / lifelong learner. They're a lifelong learner. A lifelong learner is somebody who is frequently looking for opportunities to improve themselves. Not just for the sake of improving, but in order to contribute to their team, in order to contribute to their community. It's not just about having a personal goal or an agenda, but it is about the bigger picture. It is about doing things for others. Like, we want to improve ourselves so that we can be able to give back into our community, to give back into our jobs and into the lives of others and impact others in a positive way. That is a quality of a good leader. And knowledge is power. So the more knowledge that you obtain, the better you are able to solve problems, as we saw in point I here, underneath strong people skills, being able to solve problems. And anything that needs to be improved on, we talked about how a good leader is humble, how they have humility earlier. So a good leader has the ability to, and they have it they have it inside of them to cultivate a mindset that maintains both the capacity to contribute, and they have the mindset to always want to improve and to help others improve as well. So that is a growth mindset. They realize that pain in and of itself, when it comes to learning, is actually overcoming a hurdle, and that is actually a necessary and key step into becoming a better person. Is that challenges are good things. I apologize, my whiteboard just glitched out here and I'm unable to get it back up, so just be patient with that. But yes, they recognize that growth requires, and inherently it is very uncomfortable, and that change is very uncomfortable in and of itself, but they rise above that, and they help others to rise above that and recognize that as well, because growth, it requires overcoming those painful struggles. And that concludes our second part of the lecture here for what qualifies or what characteristics are for a good leader. What are the qualities of a good leader? And we're going to go into part 3. And in part 3, we are going to discuss what are the qualities of a bad leader. You know, what constitutes a bad leader and how we can avoid those things, those qualities in the future. And perhaps even how we can recognize the good qualities within ourselves and the bad qualities and how we can improve on those areas if they are bad, and how we can fix those and help others to identify those within themselves and help them to overcome as well. So you can go ahead and meet me over in part 3, and I will see you there.